And here we are, another Penguins Live chat on Pittsburgh Hockey Now and National Hockey Now YouTube's page. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. Quite a night last night, wasn't it? I didn't mean to make more of it than it was, but really, it was. It just had that feel, and I saw Josh Yohe's Twitter. He had the same feeling that I did, that last night we witnessed something I don't know that we thought we'd see in a regular season. Kind of the end of the Penguins. That's what it felt like. It looked like the last gasp and a surrender. After the flat line in Philadelphia, after the flat line in the third period against Edmonton. I mean, let's be honest. The Penguins weren't bad in the first two periods. They were right there. It was 2-1. They had a lot, 3-4 really good chances against Mike Smith in the second period. But those bounces didn't go their way, and they folded. The resilience, the heart, all of those things that became hallmarks of a Mike Sullivan Penguins team were gone. They reached back for it, and they had nothing. And it was startling. It was staggering. It was jarring. It was surprising. All of the above. So do me a favor. We do these live chats. I haven't actually done one since right before the trade deadline. I apologize for that. Oops. I've been talking to a desk. There I am. I wonder if I can edit that out. Let's start that all over again, shall we? Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now and the National Hockey Now YouTube channel. I am not a desk. Look at that. I am so smart. SMRT. Anyway, we did see something last night that I didn't think that we would see with this Penguins group. I always figured they'd be too proud. They would go out on their sword. They would, kind of go down to their last breath. We didn't see that last night. I mean, look, they've had a chance now for just about a month, maybe 6 weeks, to begin getting into playoff preparation mode. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen a very good Penguins team whatsoever. By the way, what your comments here on the YouTube page as well. I mean, that's how these little live chats / Q&A conversations thing work. I do want you to participate as much as you can. I think perhaps they assumed the same thing too, that there would never be that cliff that they would fall off. Whether it was the losses to the Rangers last month, when they played well and the Rangers beat them, outskated them. That had to be a little bit of a pinprick in the balloon. The playing well but losing to Boston, the heartless loss to the Washington Capitals. All of those things sort of play a role, don't they? You begin to doubt, you begin to wonder, and look, this team has been a one-line team for most of the season. There was a brief moment there with, Evgeny Malkin's back. Head coach Mike Sullivan said it very succinctly last week. Let me add some pretty photos. And I guess we're starting again. I'm going to watch it on YouTube here to see if I think we're rolling again. If we're not, I'm going to start this entire thing all over again. I bloody hate this technology. I mean, look, I do this by myself. I've been writing all morning. I come running down here via Uber because someone nailed my car last week, my brand new, or since new to me, car that I adored. I saved up a few pennies for, and some twit from New Jersey just T-boned me because somebody waved her through traffic. I didn't wave her through traffic. So she bolts through 2 lanes of traffic and creams me, and then says to my insurance company, he hit me. Yes, my car was on a hovercraft and went sideways into her. Oops, can you guys hear me at least? All right, Okay, I think I'm back. I'm sorry. Look, I really am. I know better than to add photos now. Let me see if I've got a photo of this guy. Yeah, this is a little bit of an old photo, but we can at least chat. Hey, caramba. Way to kill all rhythm, right, Dan? Okay, so let's catch ourselves up before I don't have enough time to do these, is quite frankly the problem. I try to squeeze these in, and I don't have... My intern is the Vegas Golden Knights beat writer now, so I don't have anybody sitting in here or anybody to help me with all this stuff. And it's just not worth money to pay somebody for you and me to talk when I can just look into the camera and do it like this. But last week, Mike Sullivan summed it up very succinctly when he called Evgeny Malkin's play sporadic. And sporadic is a very nice way of saying inconsistent, not good enough. He's not doing the things he needs to do on any sort of consistent basis. One good shift, two bad. One good period, one bad. One good game, one good period, one bad game. And it's been difficult to watch Malkin. It really has. As somebody... Okay. I don't know how it did at that time. I was talking about Evgeny Malkin. There's like 8 different feeds. I think they'll all be compressed into one later on the website if you want to watch it then. But head coach Mike Sullivan calling Evgeny Malkin sporadic. Very nice way of saying inconsistent, bad, not good enough. The Penguins need more from their number 2. They need more from their Dick Grayson. They need more from Evgeny Malkin. Yeah, he has 19 goals. And you say, wow, 19 goals in 39 games. Well, that should be good enough. It really hasn't. His line in the crucial games has not shown up. I almost don't count the 2 goals against Detroit because, quite frankly, Detroit mounted about as much opposition as I would have against the Penguins. They were absolutely disinterested, and they had no willingness, they had no desire to be there. I see people hopping on the chat and then jumping off. Okay, anywho. And Malkin's had a few of those garbage time goals, right? He started strong, full of adrenaline and vinegar, and then his play tailed off. And when you have your second line that's going to get, let's call it 16 to 18 minutes of even strength ice time per night, when you've got that line playing on its heels, it flips your entire lineup. Now Jeff Carter is on his heels because Evgeny Malkin was on his heels, and Jeff Carter has to try to dig his way out of that hole. Or it falls to Teddy Bluger, Brian Boyle, and whatever conglomeration that Mike Sullivan has used for a fourth line. That's been a huge problem for the Penguins. You cannot have a black hole in the middle of your lineup. You can't have a lack of production. You can't have that sort of thing. And I don't want to pile on here because, look, I see Twitter. I know you guys are doing quite enough of that on your own. But Malkin is not meeting his requirements. I think I'm okay to say that. Malkin is not meeting the minimum requirement from what they need from him. No, I don't know how much of that is affecting Jeff Carter as well. I mean, I haven't pulled the Jeff Carter stats in a few days. Let's check Jeff Carter game log. I mean, yeah, he scored a goal last night. Did you notice him at any point, though? And that's the thing we start talking about. Who is going to take that step forward? Who is going to change the game, change the paradigm? Who else besides Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel on the right wing du jour, be it Brian Rust or Ricard Raquel? Who else is going to step forward and change the direction, the tone, the tenor of the Penguins game? And that's been just a beast of a problem this year. So Jeff Carter has 3 goals this month in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games. 7 points in 12 games isn't terrible. That's kind of what you want from Jeff Carter, actually, because he's got 4 assists. But here's the kicker: a -9. If we throw out the Detroit game, he's a -10. But he's only been a plus in 2 of the 12 games in April. That's a huge problem for the Penguins. Your third line, if they're not scoring a goal, has to be preventing a goal. And Jeff Carter, with whatever line mates, Danton Heinen, Kasperi Kapanen, Brock McGinn, who else? We can probably start kicking a lot of players, can't we? Jeff says, bite the bullet, move Malkin down, put someone in there, maybe less talented but more hungrier. I know what you're saying, Jeff. I don't listen, and I came prepared to talk about Evgeny Malkin because I know things are going to center on Malkin over the next couple or a few weeks, especially if the Penguins get unceremoniously bounced out of the first round. By the way, can you see me okay? Like, is the light okay? I can't. Yeah, it looks okay. My hair's a little funky. I kid you, I hopped out of the shower at 1:15. I had to be downtown by 2 o'clock. The Uber driver was late. By the way, have you ever had an Uber driver show up in just a beater? Apparently his brakes didn't work because dude was just like going right up on cars, and I'm like in the back trying not to, need the sickness bag. Anywho, I guess we can dive straight into Evgeny Malkin, right? I mean, if we're being honest, he is one of the Penguins' problems because his lines have not been good. Here's what I've noticed about Malkin, too. He has not been able to do the things that he wants to do. He's not been able to stick handle around defensemen. He's not been able to, with that gallop. He had the gallop in the first period last night. I saw it even in the second period. Up on his toes, a little taller, leaning forward, digging into the ice with those skate blades and hopping and just, shooting himself forward. And I really thought the Penguins were going to flip the script last night, kind of flip that switch, and we were going to see the better Penguins team. Okay, not a great first period, not a terrible first period. Here comes the second period. They get the chances. It doesn't go, and they just packed it in. And Malkin was nowhere to be found. Malkin is one of those guys in the third period you need to step up. Crosby had, 4 shots in the third period, steals the puck from Mike Smith, sets up Jake Gensel a couple of times. It was a Sidney Crosby kind of third period, but nobody else followed. I think Malkin might be at his premier center expiration date. He just can't do the things that he wants to do. He's going to have to adjust. The Penguins are going to have to adjust. So, Jeff, when you say drop him down in the line, maybe third line center. Okay, that's a possibility. I'm going to default to wing. I'm going to slide him over to the left wing. Although I guess I guess it was Gensel, Crosby, Malkin. To be quite honest, I had no idea who was playing who when they put the two-headed monster together. I really didn't. Although he also played some left wing, and Brian Rust hopped onto the line. But it was such a whirling dervish of bodies. There was no center, right wing, or left wing. It was just three guys dancing around with the puck. So I think I'd seriously consider. I mean, look, I asked Mike Sullivan that back in February. Hey, might you put him at wing to ease him back into the lineup? And he was firm. No, Evgeny Malkin's a center. I don't know how you can say that really anymore. I can't get there. I'm a little predisposed. And that's why I kind of told you the story of my opinion before I told you what Mike Sullivan said, because I want to give you my bias up front that I don't necessarily see Evgeny Malkin being able to deliver what the Penguins want right now, if ever again. It very well might. We very well might have witnessed kind of the swan song on Tuesday night. Let me see here. Malkin and Crosby looked like they didn't want to be there. I thought Sidney Crosby... Look, Crosby was playing against McDavid. McDavid was dealing last night. Crosby and his line... I mean, they were defending freaking Connor McDavid. And I don't know. I didn't hang any of McDavid's points on Crosby, Gensel, or Rust, for that matter. I'm rolling through them, and quite frankly, the Penguins' defensemen could have grabbed some popcorn on a few of those points, but Crosby had a very difficult challenge last night, and he had 5 shots. I'm not going to say Crosby looked disinterested. I'm going to say the rest of the team looked. In fact, I won't even say disinterested. I'm going to tell you straight up, Jackson. They packed it in. They quit. In the third period, they gave up. And it wasn't, it's not that old, get the coach fired sort of give up. It's the, we can't win, give up. Surrender. That was the weirdest thing. Let me close these here. How's that? My hair is... It's flat. That's what happens when you, anyway, when you get here like minutes after you shower and hop in. And I'm almost at a loss. I'm actually going to publish a column shortly after this little live chat here. I really do think we saw a pivotal moment in Penguins history on Tuesday night. I just do. I think that was bigger than 60 minutes. I think that was bigger than this season, what we saw there. I want to get to your comments, though, so keep those coming. Matt, let's bring up Nylander and slot over Kapanen versus Columbus. I don't know what to make of that, because I got some good reports from Alex Nylander, or about Alex Nylander. I also... default to this, Matt. If the team hasn't brought him up, there's a reason. Ron Hextall and Mike Sullivan don't go into the office and say, well, I don't like this guy. Let's not bring him up. If Nylander, however you want to go, could help this team win, I guarantee you he'd be in the lineup. But Hextall and Sullivan are not... convinced or don't think that Nylander could do it. So, and I know a couple of my Twitter followers, my regular conversations are like, Drew O'Connor. What about Drew O'Connor or Radim Zohorna? Let's be realistic and brutal here. If any of those players were an improvement, they'd be here. Just quite, that's just the fact of life. They had a chance to put Zohorna in the lineup. Zohorna had a chance to prove he was an NHLer, and he kind of showed that he's a bubble fourth-line player. Some pretty slick mitts, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the game, he just, after his little adrenaline burst, faded into the background. And Drew O'Connor had 5 points in 5 games to start the season, and then none in 16. He faded into the background. He's a big body, but he doesn't play big and heavy. And I think fans kind of just assume a guy who's 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" is a heavy guy. And Drew O'Connor is not a heavy player. So bringing that element of sandpaper and grit and jam to the lineup, that's not going to be Drew O'Connor either. So let's not oversell, as they say. Okay, let me get back to the comments here. Malkin was so dominant in 1920. How can this have fallen? Yeah, he really was. 74 points in 55 games. Man, Malkin was on it. It doesn't necessarily mean Malkin has fallen that far. Let me kind of explain that a little bit. When you suffer that sort of knee injury, it's going to take a lot out of you. And look, what NFL players sometimes say, it takes more than a year to get back to full speed. So that has to be taken into account, that Malkin is playing on a knee that is not going to be right for a while, if ever again. That's one point. 2, just look how much faster the league is in the last 2 years. I mean, look how much faster the Rangers are. Even Carolina is faster. And the Islanders are making steps in that direction. They're still, a bunch of lumbering kind of goons or just lumbering non-scoring guys in their lineup. Toronto, Tampa, Florida, all of these teams can now skate with the Penguins. And that means faster defensemen, even from 2 years ago. It just seems, just look at the progression of the competition and how much faster everybody is every single night. And I think that really exacerbates a 35-year-old guy on a gimpy knee, or a surgically repaired knee. Okay, Jeff says Malkin's ego can push him back to old-time heights for a while. Maybe. I mean, look, I have to think in Game 1 of the playoffs, the Penguins are going to throw the kitchen sink in the first 10 minutes. They are going to come out and try to establish themselves. The question is what happens after that those first 10 minutes. If they don't get a goal, do they pack it in? If they get a 1-0 lead but they lose it, how do they respond? How do they react? Where's the resiliency going to come in to play? Let's see here. Rusigrad says they're all bad. Sorry, press send too soon. Clarista, they're not bad. They just need to play better as a team. Well, Clarista, I'm not sure how to respond to your comment. That's kind of, every team needs to play better as a team when they're losing, right? So I've probably tried to avoid getting on Evgeny Malkin too much. I think I've explained where I see it, what I see. I do think on the wing is I think Sullivan has to consider that. Slide Jeff Carter up to the second line center. Teddy Bluger as the third line center and Brian Boyle as the fourth. Hell, you know what? Maybe Evan Rodriguez has to play center. I don't know. I honest to God, and Mike Sullivan's out of time. The lightning round is set to begin. He's out of time to figure anything out. No more experimentation. He's just got to roll with it. And I think we all know head coaches are not going to take a major swing at the lines before Game 1 of the playoffs. That's coaching 101, that you just don't. You don't screw with everything until desperation sets in. Now, you and I might feel a bit of desperation. I feel it for them, and you might feel it, personally. It's just going to be I don't know what Sullivan does, quite frankly. Did you all check out the PHN Plus story that we did? And I thought that was really. Let me tweet out the live chat here quick. Okay. Let me put the PHN Plus. By the way, if you'd like to subscribe to PHN Plus, we'd love to have you. That's our lifeblood. We make our money from Google ads and traffic, but the subscriptions, get an ad-free experience, really are the big deal. And here I ask the question: are the Pittsburgh Penguins finished? Here's the story. And I'm going to give you a secret link to subscribe for half price. Because, hey, I appreciate you watching. So let me get the membership here. I'm just doing this because I feel like it. Half price offer. So that's $15 for the year. That's going to include live draft coverage. That's going to include, I've already got the hotel up in Montreal set up for, the Hockey Now crew. We're going to go up and we're going to cover the hell out of that draft. There's the live chat. Okay, and there's the half price link. Really, I'm going to dive into here to Mike Sullivan's quotes, though, because Sullivan's quotes after the game were just, do I have a picture of Mike Sullivan? I do not. There's Evan Rodriguez getting, and apparently if I try to add a photo, it's going to crash the broadcast again. So we're just not going to do that. But I am going to read what Mike Sullivan said last night. If you haven't, whatever outlet you choose to go after you go to Pittsburgh Hockey Now. I printed Mike Sullivan's answer in its entirety, so you can see the complexity, the nuance, but also the wounded, genuine acceptance and hope of his comments. Because I kind of wrestled with how to ask the question, and I kind of purposefully held myself to the end of the press conference, and my question to Sullivan exactly was, players talked about a lack of confidence. Do you think that was the reason for such a quiet third period? Now, he could have kept it. I mean, look, he has no problem brushing me back off the plate. Mike Sullivan does not worry if I don't like the answer. He's going to give me the answer he wants to give me. He's going to control the narrative however he wants to control it. And he's like, yeah, I think so. These guys are human and have emotions. When things don't go the right way, these guys are proud. I think that's a resilience that we have to develop in order to overcome that sort of challenge. That's something we have control over. Confidence is a fleeting thing. You can get it back as fast as you lose it. Your biggest foundation for confidence, and this warning bells and red flags, all around Sullivan when he said this. Your biggest foundation for confidence, for me, is preparation and readiness. And that's your foundation. And that's what we need to build. Period. He didn't say we need to build on that. He said we need to build that foundation of readiness and preparation. So, by obvious inference, the Penguins are not ready and preparing. I kind of serve that to you. What do you want to make of that sentence? And he wasn't criticizing his team. That's the funny thing. He wasn't angrily throwing at the team. They're not preparing. He's explaining confidence. Like the guys need to prepare. The guys need to be ready. And he can't kind of crawl into their soul, into their heart, and make them do all of those things. One of the tactical things they didn't do against the Edmonton Oilers on Tuesday night was dump the puck in with any sort of efficacy. Now, Edmonton pulled guys back. That's just how hockey's played for the next 2 months. You don't play with a 2 or 3 man forecheck. You play with a 1.5 man forecheck and the other guy coming over the top to create traffic out of the zone, to create neutral zone traffic. Whichever zone you want to slow down the other team in most, right? You want to ensnare them in the neutral zone. You want to clog the blue line so they can't break out, whatever it might be. Edmonton really kind of played with one forechecker for a good bit, dropping guys back to create the layers of traffic. So the Penguins, to get into the Edmonton zone, were not really able to take it wide with speed, not able to storm the zone with speed, because Edmonton can skate with the Penguins. They had some chances they passed up, but when they dumped it in, they didn't do what they had been told to do, and kind of soft chips to the corners that stay in the corner, or hard around the wall that comes around to the other side. They dumped it in kind of hard, and Mike Smith was able to play it, help his defenseman. And from there, that feeds Edmonton's transition game. Marcus Pettersson, I thought, really kind of gave a wonderfully descriptive chalkboard sort of answer to that. But here's where Mike Sullivan, I thought, was as open and as genuine and vulnerable. Maybe not the right word to use, but you figure it out here. He said, I know this group is capable. They're an accomplished group. We've got a lot of experience in that locker room. We've got to draw on that experience right now more than ever. And he kind of looked at me and nodded his head, right now more than ever. Because when you as a team, when you don't get consistent results, that's just part of human nature. But that's something we have to overcome, and we've got to try to grab a hold of it quickly. All right. So that was a dramatic reading of Mike Sullivan by Dan Kingerski. You can get the audiobook on Amazon or wherever paperbacks are sold. What do you think? Huh? Jackson asks, which of Malkin, Letang, and Rust Raquel do you think we re-sign? I'm wondering, besides Ricard Raquel, if any of them should be re-signed. That's where I am today. I'm wondering, and I'm going to publish a column on this within the next couple hours. I'm going to make my decision. When the ingredients are stale, the cake is going to crumble, no matter how good the ingredients. And I think that's something to be considered. Let's see here. My confidence in the Pens. This is Renewed. Who's Renewed Network? Yeah, glad to have you. My confidence in the Pens' success matches that when the Steelers went to KC in the playoffs. If there's an early exit, what rationale is there to keep 79, 58, and Rust, and even Sullivan? Thanks. I'll tell you what, Renewed. I don't see Mike Sullivan on the hot seat. He's just too good of a coach. I mean, he really is a top shelf, top flight NHL coach. I think you're going to see Ron Hextall and Brian Burke deliver new ingredients to Mike Sullivan before they make a change behind the bench. I mean, look, listen, I could be wrong. When you always find out stuff after the fact in hockey. Maybe later this summer we find out that everybody kind of realized they were gone. And instead of having a major league moment where they all conspire to deny Rachel Phelps her dream of relocation, they all kind of took a sigh and felt sorry. Just didn't have I think that's a possibility. I think it's a possibility that there's some frustrations going on the inside. Guys want to play better and they're not, and they feel like they let the team down, and that snowballs to other guys. It becomes contagious. You go back to 2015, kind of a situation like that where they had a lot more talent on paper than they did on the ice. That could be a real possibility. Also, Look, I mean, Brock McGinn hasn't been playing well. Brian Dumoulin's been playing some of the worst hockey of his career. I mean, that first Evan Bouchard goal last night was squarely on both Danton Heinen for watching Kyler Yamamoto in the slot. It was Heinen and I think Brock McGinn. Heinen and McGinn converging Yamamoto, but neither guy actually took Yamamoto. And Dumoulin watched them watch Yamamoto. Never saw Bouchard. Would it be over on this end for you guys? Never saw Bouchard behind him. That's bad news. So how long? I have no idea actually how long we've been talking. Everything good? Sound is good. Picture's all you're going to get with me. I mean, I had to dust off like the heavy sweater. I haven't even had a motorcycle ride beyond my house. I took a lap around the city and put it back in the U-Haul unit a few weeks ago. I got it out I'm going to, my therapy. I did a whole extra month in the U-Haul for the motorcycle. Make this weather go away, please. Anywho, hey, I think they need a huge talk with Sullivan to make sure everyone actually wants to win. Words only tell so much. They had that today. They canceled practice today. They canceled media availability. They had what was termed off-ice workouts. Usually that can mean several different things. Sometimes it's dry land activities and those sorts of things. But my gut feeling is they got hauled into the video room and they probably got showed all the things they've done right, trying to build up their confidence. They probably got a few speeches from Todd Reardon and Mike Sullivan and if they could find him, the ghost of Badger Bob Johnson, who was relentlessly positive. Anybody they could find to pump some confidence into that group. That was probably today. Let's see here. Jackson back. Is it worth it to sign Malkin if it's a discount? Well, first of all, let's define discount at this point. I don't know. I would have... If you're going to sign Malkin to be your second-line center, no, quite frankly. I think they have to redefine Evgeny Malkin's role. I don't think he can perform at a high level as a second-line center anymore. And that pains me to say it. If you go back to November, early December, I think it was, and I wish I could... I can't find the picture for you. Do I have it? Evgeny Malkin's knee. I know at one point I showed it to you with the 3 big scars. Let me see if I can. Nope, I can't find Evgeny Malkin's knee. Best I can find is Leo. But what are these two guys going to do? I think the late season collapse is going to give those two guys a lot more freedom to do whatever they want to do whatever they need to do in order to rescue these Pittsburgh Penguins. That's my gut feeling. I think new ownership is going to look at the next 5 years, not the last 5 years. I think new ownership is going to look at ticket revenues. And by the way, you're not exactly buying up tickets like they're going out of style to say goodbye to Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, Brian Rust, are you? Those are not sellouts. COVID is, look, between you and me, for most people, COVID is... We smile and, yeah, okay, I'll put my mask on. Of course you have those idiots who have to make some sort of grand political stance and explain, 1776 and our forefathers fought the British and they stayed in the winter at Valley Forge and they marched through snow, so I don't have to wear a mask. I get it, but most of us have enough courtesy, to just not be a jackwagon about businesses that want us to put a mask on. Because look, you're yelling at like $12 an hour employees. There's no masks at PPG, and quite frankly, COVID is, the deaths and all of that has plummeted, and it just kind of is now. Why aren't people buying tickets? It's not worth it to you. You can tell me it's too expensive, all this. It all boils down to it's not worth it to you to pay money, to pay $100. Let's say, $50, $60 for the ticket. You buy a beer and a pretzel, that's another $20. So you're $80. You pay $10 or $20 to park, so there's your $100. It's not worth it to you right now. New ownership is going to look at that, and they're going to ask the fundamental and the pivotal question of you and the staff. Will we sell more tickets if we sign Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin and Brian Rust, or will we not sell more tickets? And you're kind of giving them the answer. I mean, you believe it or not, fans never quite understand the say they get in this process. I mean, look, fans think if they yell loud enough or boo loud enough or call enough talk shows that they can somehow affect a GM's thinking. Nah, that's not how it works. A GM who listens to the fans will sit with them in the stands. But teams monitor your wallet. Oh, yeah. Because they need your wallet. Otherwise, all of us go out of business. We need change, Clarista says. Do you need hope and change or just change? I mean, yes, we can. Some of you are probably too young to get that. I just realized you have to be like 30 to get that. We're playing 4D chess so that when the playoffs roll around, no one knows how we're going to play. Trey is being sarcastic, but yeah, it's going to be rough. Oh, Jax went to the game in Toronto, and it surely wasn't. Yeah, well, if you went to the game in Toronto, you paid a bundle of money. My coffee's getting cold. It also, I think, melted the styrofoam cup. So, what else you guys want to talk about? I feel like Chris Letang is kind of caught in limbo in this whole sort of deal. I've got the older picture of Chris Letang. And I think it's worth discussing Chris Letang. Because if they are stale in the room, if they need a freshness, if they need these things, Chris Letang kind of has to go, right? I mean, at some point you keep Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel, try to keep Ricard Raquel. Boy, that's too good of a fit to pass up, isn't it? But Chris Letang wants to be paid, which is fair. The right-handed defenseman market. Let me tell you something. The right-handed defenseman market has two players. Chris Letang, John Klingberg. That's it. There's nobody else. Jeff Petrie at 34 years old might become available via the trade market. Although he kind of pulled back his trade request. He was having a good time with Marty St. Louis. That organization is headed in the right direction. And he was like, maybe this is worth sticking around. I don't know. I don't know where that goes. But it does mean that Montreal's not going to give him away on the cheap. Who else? I mean, PK Subban. There's not going to be a top pairing right side defenseman for the Penguins to grab. John Marino is not capable of stepping into that number one spot. All the things that are asked and required of a top defenseman in this league. I'm not bagging John Marino. I'm just saying number one would be a big stretch. He right now is kind of caught between second and third pairing. Sullivan and Todd Reardon are deploying. I don't know if you've noticed this. I haven't made a big deal of it. In line rushes and on the Penguins depth chart, technically Mike Matheson, Chad Ruhwedel are the second pairing. Marcus Pettersson, John Marino are the third pairing. But in terms of ice time last night, they were pretty equal. Like, there really wasn't a second and third pairing. They were just two pairings after the first pairing. Let's see what else we got here. Rust and McGinn looked slow last night, like old men. I didn't think Brian Rust looked bad. I'm wondering about Brock McGinn, though. He has not brought the snap, the energy, the verb, and the vibe that he brought early in the season. I have to wonder if, we find out on exit day that he has off-season surgery or something. I wonder that, because he's not been very good since he came back. It's one of those, well, I'm as healthy as I'm going to get, so I might as well play rather than having season-ending surgery. Is he worse to be signed again? I don't get you, Clarissa. You have to retype that one. Oh, Trey went to the last Tampa Bay. Yeah, you know what? The two Tampa Bay games have maybe been the Penguins' best games all season. I mean, they've just been brilliant against Tampa Bay. I mean, they get up for that, and they play, and they go for it. Okay, so let's see. What else can I can't link my laptop to the broadcast. By the way, the last watch. I've been buying watches like a fiend for the last couple of years. Here's the last one. It is a lovely bronze and titanium mix from a micro brand made in Switzerland. And actually, if you look real I don't know if I can get a close enough. Let's see if we can do this. Hang on. If I do this, because it's kind of cool what they did, actually. And someone emailed me, I don't want to talk about your watches, which makes me, we're just going to do this all the more. And get that off of there. What they did, they made this in honor of the Saturn rockets. And those numbers are actually, now you get to watch my mouth. Let's maybe zoom out here. You got a purty mouth. Or you got Okay, and we are back. Now we're back. I'm kind of getting tired. I might have to switch to podcasts, quite frankly. I'm getting tired of all of this setup, the lights, everything. I think a podcast would be much easier and play to my radio strengths rather than having to look into the camera and worry about 50 million damn things that keep breaking. Apple is a lovely product. Their inventions and their concepts are amazing. The execution, 75%. Anyway, I was telling you about my watch. They actually made it after the Saturn rockets. So that is, they used the lettering from the rockets, and they only made like 1,969 of them, of course, to commemorate the space program. And I was such a twerp because I ordered it in February. It's supposed to take 2 weeks to get it, and it arrived like 2 weeks ago. And I wrote them kind of a nasty review. I gave them 3 stars. Truth is, I love the damn thing. I've fallen in love with it, and I haven't taken it off in like 2 weeks. But I don't know if I should tell them that, because I don't want them to stiff other customers and take 3 months to deliver it. Also, hey, I want you to do me a favor. I know I've got some Republicans watching. And we've got this little thing we've got going on here. The gubernatorial campaign. And Melissa Hart is both a Pittsburgh Hockey Now subscriber, a friend to the site, and a friend of mine. She's doing a whale of a job. I mean, I haven't seen a politician up close. And she got a late start, didn't know if she was going to do it. In the end, felt like she had to. And for in a matter of 2 months, really, gone from nothing. The latest poll, and I haven't found it yet, but I've heard about it, has her up to 11% in a 9-person field, which means she's within striking distance. Check out that link, Hart for PA, if you're a Republican. There's actually, she'll never bash him, but I will. There's a psychopath running for PA governor. And I'll get back to hockey, don't worry. There's a psychopath running for governor who tweets to QAnon, who thinks God appointed him, lied about being there January 6th, and then they showed pictures of him inside the Capitol. He's like, maybe I got lost, or whatever such nonsense he tried to spin. He's the scariest human being I've ever seen in politics. Like, people chant his, they chant Bible verses. Like, he'll start and they'll all finish it, and it's like this weird Jonestown sort of thing they've got going on. And he's actually, in some polls, he's in the lead because his followers are like just these devout folks who eat up these conspiracy theories. He actually went on TV and was like, Chinese spies stole the election. I'm just like, oh, good Lord. He's that guy. So if you can help Melissa Hart, I would surely appreciate it. Now, back to the pucks. And so I think we've gone through Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, the heart, the soul of the team, what to do with them. This is where we do last questions. Okay, Clarissa, for her final. Who's not going to be signed? I honestly don't know if anybody is coming back. I really don't know. That's just where I'm at with it. I don't know if it makes sense to bring anybody back. You build around Sidney Crosby. Look, there's 2, maybe 3 really good centers who are going to be on the market. And I don't just mean okay. Thomas Hurl is off the market. Johnny Gaudreau, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Those guys are going to be on the market. And you don't know who else is going to pop on to the market. Heck, Patrice Bergeron could pop onto the market and be so disenchanted with the Boston Bruins, he'll sign a 1-year deal to play with Buddy Sid. These are things that the offseason, we can't predict. Toronto is going to have to shed some salary. We say that every offseason, but this is the year they finally actually have to get rid of a good player. And is Nylander going to be available this summer, because they just have to sacrifice someone? So I've just rattled off a few, and these are the things that GM has to take into account. They might just well tell Evgeny Malkin, okay, if you really want to sign with us, wait. Let's see if we can spend your $9 million on Johnny Gaudreau, and you dish that 7-year, $70 million contract to Johnny Hockey. Say, hey, you want to come and help rebuild the Penguins? Does Gaudreau say no to that? I don't know. Philadelphia might go, come calling. New Jersey might come calling because Gaudreau is an East Coast kind of guy. Chance to play with Sidney Crosby and not go through a full-scale rebuild because Rickard Rakell and Jake Gensel are around. I don't know. I think they do have to probably find a way to deal with the Jason Zucker's issues. That's 5 injuries this year. He gutted it out. Core muscle surgery, out 37 games, came back for 1, missed more. So that's 2. He had the scary injury 3 weeks ago We all thought he was done for the season. Turns out he was done for 10 days. So there's 3. Last night makes 4 that I can remember off the top of my head. Poor guy. I mean, yeah. Rusagrad says, is the team really this bad? How do we get here? I mean, the playoffs, they didn't look like a playoff team. I understand losing steam, but this is much. What do I think the problem is? And I guess, Rusagrad, I think this entire chat in 8 parts has been, has been part and parcel to it. I just don't think the Penguins have that swagger, that intangible. I think they doubt themselves. I think they've accepted that the Rangers in Carolina are faster, and I think they've accepted that maybe they can't get past them, or that they don't know that they can't, and that little bit of doubt creeps in, and I think Evgeny Malkin not being on his game adds more, and I think when one of the guys you lean on falls, I think other dominoes fall around him, and same with Jeff Carter and all of that, and Brian Dumoulin not playing good hockey. I think if I'm a guy in that room looking at these guys that I've looked up to, or these guys that I lean on and rely upon, if I look at these guys and all that are the core members and the pillars of the team, and they're falling short, I say, uh-oh. You can only do so much, and maybe you try to do a little too much in your role, and then everything goes to hell. That's just what happens. So finding that inner confidence, that inner peace, or whatever it is, that One last question for you. All right, Jackson, fire away. Won't Sid have a big say in keeping Gino and Letang around? The way Malkin especially has talked about scoring his 500th assisted by Sid sounds like they want to play together. Oh, listen, there is no question that Evgeny Malkin wants to stick. There's no question Chris Letang wants to stick around. He called it, it would be so special to stick around. And Evgeny Malkin, I feel like Pittsburgh Hockey Now has provided the fan base with a ton of viral moments this year. It seems like all of my questions, not all, but the viral moments this year have come from, my softballs, or knowing when to set guys up, like Zach Aston Reese, and, where he eats his cheat meals. And Evgeny Malkin saying, well, I'm kind of like a rich guy. And Chris Letang saying it's special, and Brian Rust saying, no, we don't think about the future. I kind of feel like those have come off of my stick, and so I've had a chance to look into these, look into their eyes when they answer these, because they're looking back at me when I ask the question. When other reporter asks the question, they look at them, and when I ask, they look at me, and so you have that sort of moment, right? And so I'm kind of studying, like, okay, what's happening in this moment? Like, do I believe them? Are they selling themselves? Are they selling me? What's going on here? And last night, I really thought they were selling themselves. They were trying to tell themselves, we can do this. I still believe. And the word still makes everything so much worse, doesn't it? If you say, I believe in this team, that's a firm statement. When you say, I still believe, that means others don't. That means others around you, or maybe you didn't, or you're pushing to believe against the current, against the odds. I still believe. When Sullivan used that word still, it wasn't intentional. That's why I said it was the most open and vulnerable that Mike Sullivan has ever been, I think, with the media. Was the final minute and a half, 2 minutes last night. And will Sid get a say, is your question. No. If it comes down to a couple dollars, yes. But I think the day of Sidney Crosby being able to call his old landlord and say, okay, we need to fix this, we need to fix that, we need help here, we need help there, I kind of think that's coming to a close. New ownership, of course, will listen. They know, look, new ownership owns Liverpool and the Boston Red Sox, and they know how, they're not stupid. They're not going to come in and steamroll everybody and impose some sort of martial law and rip everything apart. No. They know how to own heritage organizations. And you know what? In NASCAR, they brought Brad Keselowski. And if you're like, what the hell are you talking about, Dan? Brad Keselowski would have been the top free agent in NASCAR. And they essentially let him kind of get a piece of the pie to get his driving skills and his know-how and his knowledge onto their team. So will they listen to Sidney Crosby? Yes. But will they listen on this matter? I kind of don't think so. I think Sid will say, I want to keep him around. I want to keep Chris. I want to keep Evgeny. I want to keep Brian Rust. And I think Ron Hextall might say, we'll see what we can do. And it's going to stop there. That's not reporting. That's not any inside dirt, okay? That's just my gut feeling. All right, kids. I'm done. I've done, even though the video says only 13 minutes, you and I have done an hour 10. And quite frankly, I've got a column to publish here shortly. So, adios. Have fun. And we'll probably do this again in a week, depending on the Penguins